Stu Smith here, going live. Hope you're doing well this Monday morning. I think it's the first Monday of the summer, so we are getting after it with our typical summer training program, ramping up the mileage, ramping up the reps, mainly focusing on endurance and muscle stamina. However, we are still maintaining some strength with a little block periodization model every fourth week to do that. So, let me start with you on the 10-minute rule. So the 10-minute rule is something I've heard years ago, and you can use it for countless things, but I typically use it for first thing in the morning. And let me tell you where it's helpful using the 10-minute rule. You know, there's that moment when the alarm goes off and you're comfortable. You hit the alarm, and now you have a decision. Do you get up out of bed immediately, or do you sit in there a little longer, think about what you have to do? You know, I usually give myself that 10-minute rule in that area where I'm just trying to breathe, wake up, focus on what I need to do. And usually there's a point in that process where I'm going to go work out, but I don't necessarily feel like working out. And I know if I just give it 10 minutes, and mainly that's a 10-minute warm up into that workout, everything kind of falls into place. And 90% of the time, I am going to do my scheduled workout that I had planned for the day and get it done. Now, there's that little 10% of the time where something's not right. I might be fighting a cold, might not have slept well, might have really been sore from a day before doing something new. So my warm up kind of extends a little bit, and I wind up making a decision on, you know what, today I really need just to recover a little bit more because I'm not recovered from the previous 2 days of workouts. And I'll wind up shifting my mobility day to that day. But I'll give it that 10-minute warm up to make that decision. And like I said, 9 times out of 10, that 10-minute warm up, by the 7th, 8th minute, I know I'm going to be in the zone to finish that workout, even though I started off not really feeling it. You know, and half of that's a mindset thing, a little bit of discipline, you know, because I promise you this, you're never going to be 100% motivated to, you know, get a workout done every day. So you do need to rely on your habits and your discipline in order to get those done. I'm sure I'm not saying anything new here to you folks that are listening in, but something I have just found useful is to help me determine where I need to be on my recovery primarily. I'm still going to do something. I'm not going to stay in bed and skip it because I will say this, I have done that before. You feel guilty for doing it, and it's just not worth it. Plus, it's real easy to get out of that 6 a.m. workout habit or 5:30 a.m. workout habit when you miss a few of those. And then the habit becomes less of a habit, and you're just replacing a really good habit with probably a bad habit of sleeping in and skipping your workouts. Because getting them later in the day might also be more of a challenge for most of us when life gets in the way, you know, throughout work and school and family and all these other responsibilities that we have. Just, you know, sometimes it's best to just get it over with before life starts competing with your day and your plans. So, anyway, 10-minute rule. And what I found is it does two things. It does one, it gets you out of bed. Two, it determines what you're going to do. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to do the regular plan, whereas 10% of the time, you might shift it and make it a little bit easier. Maybe do just a cardio day instead of a lift. Maybe do just some calisthenics instead of a cardio day. Well, whatever. Might replace it with a mobility day. And third, once you do it enough, that that's all you need. Let me just give this. I know I don't feel like it. I'm pissed off that I don't feel like it. And I'm going to go do it for 10 minutes anyway. Next thing I know, I'm getting it done. So there you go. That's the 10-minute rule. So I'm happy to take some questions if you guys have them. I know I started early today. I have some appointments I have to go see and get done today, so I had to start and finish a little bit earlier than regular. Normally I'm here at 9:30 Monday and Tuesday. Tomorrow I'll be here at 9:30 taking questions as well as showing some CSS videos. So if you have CSS videos you want me to critique them, you can always send them to me. You can send them to me, stu@stewsmith.com, or you can just DM me on Instagram. So right now I'm going live on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook using a program called StreamYard. It's very convenient to get all three of these done all at once. So there you go. So I don't see any questions here. Everybody just coming in. Hope you're doing well today, Monday, ready to crush. So let me see. Looks like we got some questions over here on YouTube. So any neck and lower back exercises you recommend for buds? I read there's a lot of injuries with that. I don't know about a lot of injuries with it, but it is definitely something you need to have strong. Your core system needs to be strong. When I say core, I don't mean just abs and a six pack. I mean everything that connects from your hips to the base of your skull. That is your core system. Shoulder girdle as well. I have an article, neck exercises for boats, Bud, Stu Smith. I think you may like this. I call it 6-minute necks. And I'm going to put the link right here. It's called Building Neck Strength for Running Boats, Easy Supplemental, and with no extra equipment. Basically, it's just, you're laying on your back and you go left and right, up and down, yes and no, and your head, what's that, about a 10-pound melon? That's a lot of weight when you're doing that on your neck, and you'll start feeling it when you do each one of these for a minute doing this, and a minute doing side to side, right? And then roll over on your belly and do the same thing, minute. So I call it 6-minute necks. Really a good way to basically build a foundation of neck strength that is safe and effective. If you've played football, sports with a helmet, you'll know what I'm talking about. When you feel your neck after not wearing a helmet in a while, that's another way to build your neck muscles. Put on a helmet and just move your neck side to side, up and down. What else? Wrestlers, they do a lot of neck bridging, so they usually tend to do pretty well with strong necks on that. So that's where I would go with it. Check out that article. I'll put it over here on the Instagram comment section as well. I know you can't click it over there, but you can at least see the title, which is Building Neck Strength for Running Boats. It's on my StuSmithFitness.com page. Looks like there's a question over here on Instagram. Says, for exhale during the CSS, is it the same for mask and goggles? Exhaling entire time faces in the water or just before the inhale? People do it both ways. I personally like to start my exhale with the kick. So it's almost like exhale with that big exertion. So your top arm, bottom arm, you're inhaling, and then what are you doing next? Boom, kicking and gliding. So you basically start exhaling right with that next movement, and you exhale for 2 to 3 seconds, and boom, you're turning ready to go inhale again. That's the timing of it, and you can see it. Just watch some more videos, and you'll see bubbles popping out of people's mouths as they um, kick and go into that glide position. However, I have seen some people who are still exhaling right at the inhale, and so you can see them fully exhaling as they're getting their face out of the water, which is fine too. You just find the rhythm that works for you is my advice. How to recover tight hip flexor from excessive running. Well, if you know the running's excessive, you may want to pull back on the running and not make it excessive. But there's two things. People will talk about stretching hip flexors, which I like to do, but you also need to build your hip flexors. Flutter kicks, swimming with fins, uh, toes to bar, knee ups, hanging knee ups. Those are all great hip flexor exercises that you need to do both. You need to build your hip flexors and you need to stretch them. So that's what I do. And my hips don't lie. I got 55-year-old hips that are still working. Ran 6 miles this morning. Ran some hills, ran some sprints. So that's what I do with my hip flexors. But I also tread a lot of water. So I swim with fins, swim without fins. Treading is like, oh man, so good for your hips, especially when you do no hand treads. Multiple kicks. You can do breaststroke kicks, scissor kicks, egg beater kicks. That's a really good hip opener exercise. Another one is get in water chest deep and just do your like Frankenstein walks. That'll dig right deep into those hips. I find that probably to be one of the best things I've ever done for my hips is all the dynamic stretches I can think of that I would do on land and before a workout or for a sporting event, but done in chest deep water. Leg swings side to side, leg swings front and back, hip openers, running in place. What else? Frankenstein walks. Those are just so good. That is where I would go. Let's see. I've been doing your 12 weeks to buds program. Started with intermediate program. I've redone some weeks twice. That's fine. Need to do that. I'm stalling out in push-ups at 63. My sit-ups are 110. Damn, that's good. Take a look at how you're doing push-ups, because you could be just doing them wrong. And what I mean by that is hand placement needs to look like this. All right, I have this conversation with 800 high school kids, at a time every year, and I'm watching them do push-ups like this. Like their hands are like you look to the left, look to the right, and your hands are even with your face. Imagine doing a bench press off your nose, right? That's no chest, that's all shoulders. So you got to bring your hands down a little bit, right? And notice my forearm, well, my humerus is like not in here, right? That's all triceps, but they're also not out here flared out. That's all shoulders. Need to be about 45-degree angles. Hands right outside your shoulder, right outside your shoulders, right there. Crank those out. So that is the form you need to be in. So look at your form to make sure you are in that position that distributes your body weight, which if you were on a scale, it's about 40% of your body weight is what you're pushing in a push-up. So you want to be able to do that with 3 muscle groups in mind: your shoulders, chest, and triceps working together to do that, to distribute it. Because if they're up too high, you're burning out your shoulders, and that'll burn out real fast. They come in too low, like biceps and triceps are rubbing your rib cage, 0 degrees. Um, it's going to burn out your triceps. But right in the middle, that 45-degree angle, here's 90, here's 0, here's 45. That 45-degree angle's perfect for pushing up. And remember, when you're in that down position, your hands are down here, across your chest, as if you had a bar in your hand doing bench press. So let that be helpful, more helpful for you on the push-up form. I've seen people have low push-ups largely because of where they're doing their push-ups. So hope that answers that question. That's what you should be doing to get push-ups up. The workout's there. You're doing plenty of push-ups with that workout. You just got to do them right. And if you want to, you can put on a weight vest and do fewer reps one day. Cut your reps in half, but add in 25, 40 pounds in a weight vest. Let's see if it's a strength is a strength issue. But 9 times out of 10, if you're doing 60 already, it's just muscle stamina endurance issue. We just got to ramp up some volume with good form. You have a lot of injuries after being in the teams. I hear a lot of guys being really busted up after being Army SF, or the team SEALs the same. I've seen a lot of people have issues. I mean, it's not unlike, I would say, any sports team where you have, folks that are getting knee surgeries, ankle surgeries from jumps or whatever. Sometimes there's a freak accident just loading equipment onto a plane, right? A little back is tweaked. But usually they are more traumatic injuries than they are training injuries. What I mean by that is people aren't necessarily overtraining in the teams, but they are falling or hitting the ground hard, or you know falling off a ladder, little things like that, just getting bruised up, banged up. Sometimes those bruises or breaks. So yeah, that's what you typically see, versus just burnt out overdoing it physically. I mean, you're burnt out emotionally and mentally, probably more than physically, just because the days are long and the job's tough, and you're away from home a lot. So there are some stressors that can definitely add to your need to recover. It's not just a physical recovery; it's all over stress mitigation recovery. But yeah, I mean, I had a back injury, nothing horrible. More pulled muscles, maybe some tweaking in the L5S1 area. I had a stress fracture in my femur. I had ankle surgery, and I messed up this shoulder too in the Navy as well. So it's just a separated shoulder, and it doesn't really bother me now. But I mean, that was at age 30, and I was, I was pretty tired of getting banged up. Be honest with you. So it does happen. You just got to be smart about your training. Hey, buddy, great to see you. Lance, how you doing, buddy? May have to get ready for another academy. However, I'm in Phoenix and the runs are hot. Oh, I bet, man. Hang in there on the hot runs. You definitely want to acclimate yourself to the heat. My advice is probably start off early morning. Temperature's a little, but even before the sun comes up, it's still going to be hot, but won't be scalding. And then slowly start ramping your start times on your runs, getting towards the heat of the day if you can. But take your time to do it. Do you think a meniscus tear surgeries are a good idea if you can recover without it to avoid developing arthritis from the surgery? I don't know enough about that process. I would say if I could avoid surgery, I would. Um, like I had an ankle surgery where the ligaments just um, detached from the bone. That was something that they weren't going to grow back. I needed ankle surgery for that to happen. Now, I had a shoulder separation here that's a level 3 separation, not quite all the way off the bone, but stretched out about as far as it could. Um, and I may be getting my levels wrong, but anyway, it wasn't detached from the bone. So the doctor said, well, we could go in there in surgery and fix it up and make it not look like it's a floating clavicle like it does right there. And I was like, yeah, I don't need it that bad. So anyway, that's how I handle surgeries. But good question. Oh, let's see. I miss any questions? Looks like I answered all of these. So a lot of running in the corrections academy, Lance? I'm not sure. I know they like correction guys to be a little bigger and stronger because there may be some times where it is definitely a tussle dealing with inmates. So I would definitely get on your jujitsu training and be able to grapple. Definitely. And run if you have to run at the academy, but that's just getting to and through the academy. But you know, put on some mass and learn to grapple. I would say are probably the more important um, elements of fitness that you need to focus on to just do your job safely. Um, Lots of mat time. Good. You need it. All right. So I'm 6'2", 171. Run and swims are in the nines. Never broken 80 for push-ups and sit-ups. Would you recommend putting on some weight? Yeah, it's pretty lean. I mean, it's not super small. You might be able to put on a little upper body mass with that, and your push-ups and pull-ups will get better. Um, Not a whole lot. I'd say 85, 185 maybe max. Be solid. Put it this way: I was 6 foot 195 going through, and I felt like as far as load bearing, I never was crushed under anything. I wasn't saying logs and rucks and boats were easy. I just didn't feel like they were crushing me. Um, the runs were harder, I think, at 6 foot 195, but they were easier than 6 foot 205. I can tell you that. So, I'd say anywhere between that 185 zone is probably good, especially being 6'2". And if you need to put on some back strength, lower back strength, if you got long legs, um, skinny legs, I'd definitely work on your hips, lower back, just for load bearing. Work your deadlifts, work your squats, put on some mass there as well. And you already got good runs, so maintain your cardio while you do it. you know and crush it. My advice is get part of the like like this type of program where you're working on both weights and uh, cardio in a block periodization model. That way you can maintain your cardio and your reps while you still put on some mass, get stronger. I mean, if you're really wanting to put on some mass, get stronger, the winter lifting phase is a really good one as well. I think I have it in here anymore. Oh, there it is. Yeah, increase strength and crush the PFT IFT program. I think that would be pretty good. Would it be better to get fast, then put on mass, than the other way around, putting on mass, then getting fast, which is easier, think? Um, it's a good question. It really kind of depends. I would do it this way. Whatever your weakness is, I would focus on that and maintain a strength. So let's say, just for instance, you're an endurance guy. Good runs, good swims, kind of weak upper body, kind of weak strength wise all over. I would go with probably the winter lift cycle, 3 weeks of lifting, eating, putting on mass, 1 week of a deload. That's what this one is. It's a block periodization where you do 3 weeks of lifting, 1 week of a deload where you're focusing on cals and cardio. And you may find that at the end of that cycle, you've done two things. You've actually put on some mass, you've gotten stronger on your lifts, and you have been able to maintain or maybe even improve your calisthenics and cardio at the same time. We've had people do all the above: stronger, got bigger, and improved their PST with that 3-to-1 block periodization model, which is what that program is. Same for the spring training program. It's a 3-to-1 block periodization model. And now all of my seasonal tactical fitness periodization programs, spring, summer, fall, winter, are all block periodization models where we do the 3-week focus on your weakness, 1 week of focusing on your strength, which turns out to be kind of an opposite element of fitness, deload, for you. Would you consider 25 years old too old for buds or pre-ranger? No. 25 is awesome. I think 25 is the perfect age for any spec ops job. I look back at my levels of fitness. Um, I would say probably between 25 and 30 were my peak years. I mean, I was good between 21 and 25 as well, but I got even better. I got smarter. Um, I got faster, at everything across the board. Got stronger, everything across the board at 25 to 30. So, no. I think you're better off than an 18-year-old kid who still hadn't finished growing yet and, hasn't really done a whole lot of maturing physically and emotionally. But that's just my opinion. Hello, sir. I'm not sure what this question is. More hard from 11 pull-ups to 15? Question mark. I mean, 11 to 15 is not easy, but it's not hard either. My advice is keep working the volume. 3 upper body days a week, pyramid, superset, max rep set workout. In fact, if you need it, you can look up an article I wrote that I call my 3 favorite workouts to crush fitness tests and how to use them. In fact, I'll put it in the comment section over here on YouTube, and I'll put it over here on Instagram. But just remember, it's titled My 3 Favorite Workouts to Crush Fitness Tests, and put my name in it, and you'll find it. All right, let's see. What else we got? Oh, we got some more questions over here. What do you think about SEAL team drama going on? Is leadership still good in the teams? I've been warned by many special operations community about how toxic SEAL community is. You know what? I see it. I don't think it's rampant. I know many guys that are in and they still love it. So, there's no perfect program out there. And I think a lot of people who are disgruntled, have a right to be disgruntled. Maybe something didn't go well for them. So, yeah. Just put it this way. Everybody has an opinion. Is that opinion reality across the board, or is it just, their situation? Can drop at sprints from 9 seconds to 7 in 2 months. Thank you. Man, I tell you what, some of you guys suck at asking questions. I don't know what that means. I'm not even going to try to decipher it. I wanted to say your 90-day beginner has been really helpful. I've gone from 11-minute pace to 8:30. Damn, nice. And I'm only day 36 of the workouts. Hey, man, that is awesome. Great job. You got to get started. We're all beginners in this journey at some point, man. Good job. Nicely done. Keep it up. Only gets better. Any tips for SOAS? I don't have tips for anything. I don't like to use the word tips and secrets and hacks, because it's all hard work, right? Everything comes down to you preparing yourself hard, doing things that you suck at and getting better at, so you have no weaknesses. You know what's in front of you when you go to SOAS. You got to take a PST. Make sure your PST that you do at SOAS is better than the one you submitted 4 months earlier for your paperwork to get accepted into SOAS. That's one and number two of your PSTs. They should look better than the other. Second one should look better than the first one. Let's see. You got a ruck to do, so you should be rucking. You have a mile swim to do, so you should be swimming with fins. You have some treading to do, so you should be treading. I mean, none of those are secrets. Make sure you're doing that and be able to interview well, answer questions like, why do you want to be a SEAL officer? Why do you want to be in the military? What books have you read in the last 6 months about military training or military missions? Tell us about them, and be able to rattle that off. Have a quick elevator speech of like who you are. All those are really good interview pieces of advice, and the standards, so go crush them. Is running every day bad? Is it better to run 3 to 5 times a week and offsetting non-runs with swims? That's the way I like to do it. I mean, I would say I've run probably 5 days, sometimes 6 days a week, where I'll take one of those days in the middle and make it a mobility day where it's non-impact cardio, swimming, stretching, foam rolling. And then I'll take Sunday off of running altogether and just walk. So I typically do 5 days a week, but I'm still doing something on those other 2 days to help just stay mobile and moving versus sitting around doing nothing. Let's see. A couple more questions. These are great questions, so thank you. I've done your PST prep book for buds. PSTs are at 8:30, 85, 90, 19, 20. That's good. That's about typical. Nice work. I feel like I can't get my run down to 9 minutes. Should I focus on sprints or distance? Good question. Probably I would mix in some pacing drills, so where you are focusing on, 6-minute miles, pace or faster. That may be a sprint. That may be a pace drill. It's up to you. And then, add in an extra run where it's just slow and steady. Let's work some aerobic base training if you feel like you're running too much. However, I would say let's trade it off with some swimming, mix in some hypoxic swim workouts, like skip breathing on your freestyles, like 6-8 strokes per breath. That'd ramp up some cardio for sure. Or just bike, get some good bike workouts in and save your legs the impact pain of a 10-mile slow run. But you could do a 10-mile slow run if you want. My advice is kind of do it all in the week. You got a sprint, you got a hill, you have goal pace running where you master your pace, you got a long, slow distance run, and maybe a non-impact cardio run or non-impact cardio day, um, just to work your lungs without the impact. But that kind of depends on your running history, your running volume, and all that. If you need to run or if you need to not run. Hey Stu, with stiff rocket fins, do you wear anything on your feet? Absolutely. Yeah, you definitely need booties. You need to Google the term scuba booties and buy some. Otherwise, your feet are going to look like they've been through a meat grinder. I've not followed your program recently. Bought your first book in 2000. Damn, been doing this a while, I believe. Do you incorporate stationary rowing concept 2 in your training? Not specifically, but I give it as an option. So basically, if you get any of my later programs that I've created in the last 24 years, there is a run at the end of a workout. Now, there's also an option for every mile of running that you miss. You can do 10 minutes of a non-impact cardio to replace that mile of running. So yes, you could do a 10-minute row, 10-minute bike. You could do a 10-minute elliptical. You can go swimming for an extra 10 minutes to make up for that mile that you missed running, if that makes sense. So yes, I don't have a rowing workout per se, but you can definitely replace any of the cardio with rowing if you so choose. In fact, there's an article about that, and I think it's called Adapting Programs. Yeah, here you go. It's called Adapting Programs to Your Level of Performance and Still Reach Your Goals. So I'm going to put this here. I wrote it as a test article, so the actual title is test article. But if you look up the search Adapting Programs to Your Level of Performance, Still Reach Your Goals, you'll see an article pop up that's pretty good for you. My run time 6:30 per mile right now, but on flat concrete with running shoes. Should I start running in soft sand with boots? How's that change going to affect my time? Your change is going to be slower because running in soft sand and boots is harder than running on anything else. Though I would say this, if you can find something other than concrete to run on, your feet are going to thank you a lot for that. And I probably wouldn't run in boots or zero drop shoes on concrete. I tend to try to find as much softer ground than concrete. So that means a dirt trail, gravel roads, grass, turf around, the inside of a track, a rubberized track. I've just found those to be very helpful with when you're ramping up your mileage to do a couple of days on softer surfaces, and your knees, hips, and ankles will thank you. Let's see, a couple more questions here. Summer program is about to start. I'm not sure if I can take the running mileage just yet. That's fine. None of these are personalized training programs. You have to make those adaptations to whatever volume you're in. Last thing I would want you to do is be at 10 miles a week, and then the first week you got to do 25 miles a week of running. So you should ramp up to 25 miles a week of running, whether that is maybe with a spring training program to ramp up to the summer, or you just cut the runs in half for a month or two until you've built yourself up to that 25-mile range. So there's nothing wrong with like running every other day in one of my programs and replacing it with rowing or biking or swimming more. if you're not quite there with your own running progression. In fact, it's smart to do that. Can't tell you how many people just blindly read a program, whether it's mine or somebody else's, and they just go jump right into it, and then 3 weeks later they wonder why they're hurting. Columbia County. I'm assuming that's Florida. I'm from Suwannee County, as you may remember, right next door. um, all right, let's see. I turned 25 Thursday. How should I expect my body to change in the coming years when it comes to fitness? Am I getting old yet? No, put it this way. I wish I was 25. I am now 55. So I have experienced 30 years past that, and I can tell you 25 was awesome. 30, just as good. Now, I will say this, things started to hurt a little bit at 30. And I think that was probably because I just wasn't smart with my own training. Had I started that seasonal tactical fitness periodization model earlier, I started at age 30, so I've been doing it now for 25 years. And that has made all the difference in the world on how I've progressed from 30 to 55, kind of rebuilt myself, um, lifting in the winters, reducing my mileage in the winters, you know, get off the lifts, doing more calisthenics in the spring, and ramping up running in the summer. And then coming back around the fall, reducing the runs, adding weight, and just repeating that cycle year after year. And it allows you to stay good at everything. You have moments of greatness when you're in those cycles, and then you're ready for another cycle to work on something else. And just a way to maintain all those elements of fitness that you need to be good at everything. And, quite honestly, the definition of a tactical athlete is really just to be good at everything and not great at any one thing other than your tactical skills. You want those to be great, but you want your physical attributes to be just good at everything. You don't need to be world class in anything. Um, you just need to not have a weakness that is going to hurt the way you work or get you hurt when you work. If that makes any sense. Been following your phase 2 program. Cause of facility issues, I have to break up the workouts. How big a difference does that make? Oh, not at all. None. In fact, we break up our workouts into 2-a-days all the time. In fact, because our pool that we like to use to swim has swim teams in it all morning, right after our normal morning run, PT, lift workout, um, we actually swim in the afternoon. So I think it's a great way to do it. 2-a-days are awesome. You probably get a better swim workout out of it anyway, if you're swimming last. So let's see. Can't see what you're saying. Yeah, if you stop working out, it's either rust or bust, man. I mean, you're just, yeah. If you don't do anything, you're rusting. So, um, if you wanted to ruck run, would the recommendation be do it going uphill to avoid injury with weight on, 40-pound ruck? We do rucks everywhere, man. We ruck hills, we ruck beach, we ruck trails. Um, Mix it up. Doesn't have to be all one thing. We ruck bleachers. We put a ruck on and do a stair step machine. All of those are great, um, great ways to work the legs and back for rucking. Let's see. How did you get this idea for cyclical fitness and periodization? Well, I did it when I was 30, and I was just really kind of beat down. Um, By 30, I had, stress fracture in my femur. I had ankle surgery at 31, so that was a little jacked up. My shoulder was hurting and my lower back hurt, right? So there was literally just about everything bothered me. So I realized, I can't be doing a lot of miles right now. So I just did non-impact cardio, swam a lot, and I decided, you know what? I haven't really done an old school lift routine in a while. And so I did stuff that I was doing in my teens when I was first starting out, kind of a hybrid between bodybuilding and powerlifting, which I did powerlifting a lot in high school, in my first year of college. So it was kind of like I'm going to build some strength up again because I'm kind of missing it. So that just happened to be during the winter, and then as the spring came around, I started feeling better, and I was like, I think I can run now. So I started ramping up my running very logically. Um, like started off with 5 miles a week, went to 6, went to 7, and then gradually started adding 10, 15% per week. Um, and was able to get really good again at running. But I realized I just kept peaking or keep ramping it up until I hit a peak somewhere in the middle of the summer. And I was like, you know what? I need to come back down. Right. So I started ramping back down. I just created this little bell curve, ramping back down. I was like, you know what? I'm kind of beat up with all these reps of calisthenics. So let's make them a little heavier. Started adding weight vests, started adding dumbbells, and in the fall. And by winter, I was like, all right, back to lifting again. And we started, ramping up the lifts. And that it was just the first year of doing it. In fact, my first program that I created with that model is called Maximum Fitness. I don't have a copy of it here, but it was my second program I created called Maximum Fitness. And you'll see it's kind of an old school bodybuilding routine in the winter, um, versus a kind of a powerlifting model. But that's how I created it. And then over the last 25 years since then, or maybe 22, 23, it has kind of evolved into different types of lifting. Um, Workouts have changed, adding sandbags, adding TRXs. The term tactical fitness came out probably around 2008. So I started, thinking a little more tactical with my workouts, meaning, is this going to be useful for someone who needs to jump through windows and over fences and over walls and obstacle courses and things, in their future, right? Is it going to be helpful for that? Is it going to be helpful for someone who has to run and ruck and swim? So that's kind of where the idea came from. And been doing it for 25 years now. So I feel pretty good about it. And I'm not changing anything. I might evolve a little bit, but that system, I'm doing it forever. Good morning, Stu. Any tips for staying handsome in my 50s? I don't have them. Just keep working out, man. That's it. Heading to Bud soon. Anything you can suggest? I focus on last couple of months before I ship. Huh. Just make sure there's no weakness left undeveloped. So that can be as simple as just treading more. It could be practicing drown proofing. Um, it could be make sure your 4 mile timed runs are an easy 28 minutes. Make sure you can swim a mile in 30, 35 minutes. Make sure maybe even try 2 miles swimming with fins for 70, 75 minutes. Be in that range, because that's going to put you in good stead with, the people that are in the top of the class. Um, and, you want to be in that top 20% of these type of programs because, when there's a 75, 80% attrition rate, you don't want to flirt with any of that. So you want to always be in the top 20% of the class. Otherwise, you're just setting yourself up for just really barely surviving and having to rely on your grit and mental toughness to get through every evolution. And with just a little more preparation, you can be crushing events versus having to bring your A game every single day and get crushed by them and barely pass them. Right. So that is where I would be focusing on. What are your thoughts on PEDs for recovery for active duty special ops infantry? Not to be used for selection events, but the ones who have already passed. Um, you know what? I don't have a problem with it. Be honest with you. Um, I mean, especially the job is very stressful, and some of these guys, even at Dev Group, have testosterone levels of a might be 28 years old and have a testosterone level of someone who's 55, 60. In that situation, you know, with doctor supervision, um, it may be exactly what the person needs. So I don't have a problem with it, but it just has to be administered medically versus just taking it on your own and buying it, on the internet. Someone with bad intentions selling you stuff that's dangerous. Let's see. While on the teams, did you come across PJs frequently? I did not. Met a few since, and they're awesome. Um, we've even trained several to go down that pipeline. Great guys. They love what they do. What are the similarities and differences of PJs and SEALs? I would say their training is very similar. I would say PJs probably have a more challenging swim skill portion versus Buds. Believe it or not, they do all the Buds events plus a couple others that are really challenging. Um, their dive school is a Navy dive school. Um, not quite like second phase dive school, but very similar. And then all their land warfare stuff is very similar as well. Um, but they also learn how to extricate people from machines, from down pilots who were trapped in an airplane. Their job is extraction specialists, and they're all combat medics too. So I mean, they are souped up combat medics. And sometimes if there's a SEAL platoon that doesn't have a medic for whatever reason, PJs have been known to augment into those platoons and be the medic for that group. So they are more than useful out there doing their thing. How long should minimum rest between the 50-50 be? I would say don't go longer than 10 to 15 seconds. And if you can, build up to a point where um, you actually don't even need to rest. You're just taking two big deep breaths and turn around and go next set. How did the guys who barely able to pass Buds but still scrap through turn out when they got into teams? Some did really well, some didn't. Some guys that crushed Buds didn't do well in the team. So it's a really different world. I mean, the Buds is really the test to see if you really want to do it. For the right reasons, and then everything else after that is tactical skills and teamwork and leadership and followership, and um, it takes a different person to be really skilled at all that, to master their craft in such a way that they are the best ones who ever do it. um, so yeah, I've seen all types be masters of their craft, if that makes sense. I'm on the officer side in the reserves, 28 years old. Is my understanding that there are administrative barriers that I'll have to overcome. Um, yeah, I don't know anything about reserve um, commissions and transferring over into the active duty world. You might have to reserve your commission and then try out again for an officer commission. I don't know. Um, you might be able to lateral transfer and go active. So that is something you need to talk to the SOAS folks about because I'm not sure how that works. Yeah. If you're a good candidate, you'll be received well at the boards. So I wouldn't sweat it too much. All right, a couple more questions and then I have to go. It's almost an hour doing this. So, Buds Phase 2 versus Army CDQC. Um, does the Florida water temperature make it easier for the Army? Uh, Probably. I mean, it is warm down there. Cold water sucks. Even in the summer, water's cold out at California. But both are very good dive schools. So, in fact, I'm pretty sure Army CDQC has been modeled after Bud's Phase 2 because it used to be back in the day, Army guys would come and do Phase 2 at Bud's. We even had FBI agents do Bud's Phase 2 because they were, doing cool stuff with their SWAT teams. About halfway through Phase 2 program, do I need to incorporate boots and pants with any of the runs, rucks, or even workouts? Not a bad idea. I tell you, I was glad I ran with boots before I went to Bud's. Nowadays, it's a little different because the boots you get issued now are like running boots. I mean, they're almost like shoes compared to the old Vietnam era jungle boots we had that were heavy and not comfortable and just hurt when you ran in them. You'd have to do a lot of favorite. You had to do a lot of prepping to get them ready for your feet with inserts, and you had to pick your favorite inserts and put those in them just to have a little bit softer running cushion. But yeah, I would incorporate some. All right, guys, I do need to go. Um, I appreciate your time, and I will be back tomorrow, and we'll do some CSS critiques. So you guys have a good day, and check out stewsmithfitness.com. Plenty of articles over there for more information. You can search through them. Um, also check out the books, and if you stuck around this long, I appreciate it. You can check out any of the programs. Save 15% with the coupon code live15. Live15 saves you 15%. So appreciate you sticking around. I'll catch you tomorrow.